Benjamin Nketsia is in Doha, Qatar, and he joins us live on World Cup Daily. Ben, if you can hear me, I'm sure it's afternoon there, so good afternoon to you in Qatar. How are you doing, and how is Doha after yesterday's round of games?
Good afternoon, Nathan, and good afternoon to Achu and Susu in the studio. Good afternoon to all our viewers as well. Doha is, it's great so far. It's a quiet city for most parts, buzzing with World Cup fever. You can see fans from basically every country that's participating everywhere. There are those who are also not participating but want to enjoy the World Cup feel, so they are also around as we speak. But the city itself has been pretty great. It's been Black Stars banter and Portugal banter since last night. A lot of interesting theories, a lot of interesting opinions, but for most part, I think it's been healthy. It basically shows you how much passion people have for the Black Stars, regardless of how much they say they don't care about the Black Stars anymore. But yesterday's game has generated quite a lot of debate. I think there's quite a lot to digest. Great.
Let's start off with the Black Stars post-game. I don't know if you've been to the team hotel, or I don't know what the itinerary is, but post-game, what did you pick up from the players as they left the stadium, as they moved on to think about the game against Korea? What vibe did you pick up from the players as they left Stadium 974?
Yes. All
right, Ben, if you can hear me, I'm asking what you picked up from the players.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Did you speak to any of them? What are they telling themselves after such a very, very narrow loss to Portugal from yesterday?
I had the chance to interact with a few of them, en route to the bus and stuff like that, but it was generally a feeling of so close, but yet so far. They felt let down by the nature of the defeat specifically. I don't know if TV cameras had it, but a couple of them stood on the pitch for a minute. Some hands on their heads. Basically signs of despair. So it was not an atmosphere you could call refreshing or an atmosphere you could call encouraging, but they themselves understand how the events of the night unfolded. They know that some of it was to blame on officiating, but some of it was also to blame on themselves. And I always say that you always need to make sure that you play above officials. If you notice yesterday, I didn't mention anything about VAR or the penalty when I got into my report, because look, a lot of decisions were made yesterday, and I feel that some of those decisions could easily have gone against the Black Stars if we are being very fair with the sort of officiating we saw. And so to single out that Ronaldo incident and say that, well, referee was utterly biased and had an agenda, I beg to differ. But that decision clearly impacted the game. But to say that there was an agenda against Ghana, I don't know about that. Typically, Susu Graham would like to say that I'm a conspiracy theorist, but on this one, I'm staying on the safe side. I think that Ghana had a job to do. The problems were multifaceted. For me, I noticed a few things I found really weird. The first bit I found rather weird was the position of Thomas Partey, and I've spoken about.
Yes. Ben, you're talking about.
I don't know if I can hear you. My sound set. Yes, I can hear you now.
Great, wonderful. You're talking about Thomas Partey and his positioning in terms of the team shape tactically. What did you make of all of that? Because it's also down here, it's a topic of discussion, Partey's performance and whether or not he did well or did not do well. What did you make of his performance as you watched him play live in Qatar?
I thought he looked very uncomfortable playing on the right side of midfield, because that's not naturally his position. He wants to be the conductor of the team. And I hear a lot of people say things like he's been subpar and he's not done well. Well, if you play him in unfamiliar territory and you accommodate a debutant in his natural position, that is going to happen. If you want the best chances of succeeding as a team, you want to play your best players in positions that allows them to flourish. And so I just thought that was a really weird decision by Otoado. And Partey himself he looked uncomfortable. He couldn't move as much as he wanted to. He had to double back a couple of times to cover for Ali Lusedu on the few times when he went forward. And when you have to overcompensate like that, it affects the natural flow of your game. And so for me, I thought he was decent. I feel he could have been better for us. But when you are given lemons, you make lemonade. And I thought that's exactly what he did.
Great. So what is next for the Black Stars? We know they play on Monday, but do you have an idea of how they are getting ready for that game? When is their next training session? Have you seen them? Have you figured out anything that probably Coach Otuado and the technical team might want to do ahead of Monday?
Well, they held a recovery training session today, basically trying to get in shape for the next game on Monday. There'll be a training session tomorrow, and then they'll kick it on from there. You get the sense that Otto will make changes. He listens. I mean, I will be delusional to think that he doesn't listen, because we the press available here try to have a chit chat with him. He didn't have a lot of time to say a lot of things, but you get the sense that he listens, and so there will be tweaks in the next game. I was actually surprised again, however, by his defense of the substitution. I thought that was the most pivotal moment in the game. He decided that he said it was because of a yellow card and that his players couldn't go into tackles the way he wanted to. That was understandable for a guy like Andre Ayew, because for the longest time he looked winded. But Mohamed Kudus, that Kudus substitution was very funny, because you would have expected that Kudus would have been young if he would have early in the second half, or perhaps he wouldn't have returned for the second half at all, because he was basically a passenger in the first half of the game. But however, it didn't happen like that. When he started growing into the game and his influence was being felt in the game, that's when the manager thought that it was the right time to yank him. Again, that was a very weird decision for me. And guess what? Once those two guys went off the pitch, in the next 10 minutes, the game was very gun-ho. It was very end-to-end, and Ghana could not control the tempo of that end-to-end action. We ended up conceding 2 goals, which I believe were crucial to how this game eventually played out. And so, in-game management, I haven't been impressed with the in-game management at all. Not to mince words, I think that Otuado should be doing better. He has a brain trust of very capable men behind him, and so if these decisions that were made in this game is the collective of all of them, then I'm raising my eyebrows. If it was his own decision, still eyebrows raised. But in the end, you need to pick up the pieces. You can't cry over a game that has already, been lost. The nature of the defeat is painful. You look back on it, and it's up to you to pick motivation from it or to despair from it and go lose the next game. Now, guess what? Korea themselves are reeling from that first game. They barely played a shot on target in that game. They know that if they repeat anything like that performance against Uruguay, they are packing their bags and going back home. So if anybody in Ghana is out there thinking that Korea are about to roll over and be packaged into the refrigerator, that's an absolute lie. They will come to the next game kicking and fighting, and they will want everything from that game. So we need to be ready for a really feisty encounter. It should be quite interesting, but I expect Otuado to make pretty significant changes to this team going into that second game.
All right, Ben, thank you so much. We'll catch up later on. That was Benjamin Nketsia joining us from Doha, Qatar. He's a man watching the World Cup live, up close and personal, and he decided to go all alone and not take us along. I'll keep repeating that point. I don't know why he did it, but it's okay. Maybe he'll bring us all nice goodies from Qatar. All right, this is a World Cup Daily.